Good afternoon, and thank you for tuning in to the Unlimited Motorsports YouTube channel. Today we'll be installing coilovers on a 2005 Subaru WRX. This process is going to be the same as any Subaru Impreza chassis vehicle. That is a Subaru Impreza RS 2.5, the WRX, and the STI. Between the years of 2002 and 2007. This will also be the same for most Subaru of the same generation. So first step is we're going to go ahead and prepare by jacking the vehicle up and safely securing it on some jack stands. Alright, now once the vehicle is supported safely on jack stands, I like to give it a quick push test. Okay, car's supported, fine. Next step is to go ahead and remove the wheel. I like to slide this under the vehicle just as extra precautionary. Now that we're under here, the next step is to go ahead and remove the two 19mm bolts and nuts that hold the strut to the spindle. Once those are removed, we'll go ahead and remove the two 12mm bolts holding both the brake line and the ABS line together. Once those two 12mm bolts are removed, we'll go ahead and come up top here and remove these 5 12mm nuts. Once you remove the two 12mm nuts that hold the horn bracket on, go ahead and just pull that out and set it aside for now, as we will be reinstalling this later. And once those 5 total nuts are removed from your passenger front strut, we'll go ahead and come back down to the bottom. A little wiggle. And your entire strut assembly should come out. Now, if you did opt for coilovers that do have camber adjustments in the front, or camber adjustable top hats, just make sure when you install it that these are pointed inwards towards the engine. Next step is to position a jack under the lower ball joint. I like to position it right on the castle nut and go ahead and jack your spindle up into the coilovers. Okay, as you may have noticed, when you removed it, there are two different types of bolts. The upper bolt is what's known as an eccentric bolt. This is for adjusting camber based off of your spindle. So as you rotate it, it will push the spindle forward or back and give you different camber. The lower bolt, on the other hand, is just a regular bolt. Make sure you install these correctly. All right, now once all the bolts are back together, I like to go ahead and adjust the eccentric bolt at the bottom to where the spindle is set to maximum negative camber. Now the way you could tell that is right now I'm at maximum positive camber. You see how the spindle kind of protrudes outwards of the coilover, and as I turn this, it kind of pushes its way back in, and you'll be able to see as it gets hard, actually, that it protrudes all the way in. Now you see as I rotate it that way, it kind of pokes back out. Let's go ahead and just bring it back. The reason I do this is because I know that the vehicle is going to go ahead and go get an alignment, but as we are lowering the vehicle, I'd rather have maximum negative camber just so it doesn't touch any of the plastics or the actual fender. Okay, and that concludes the front installation. The next step in installing the front coilovers, there's two adjustments when it comes to coilovers. So down here, this nut actually unlocks the height adjustability, and up here, these two nuts is what's known as spring preload. I like to neutralize the spring preload. Neutralizing is just so you lower the spring preload just enough to where you could spin the spring, and as you see, it's very tight, so I'll be right back as I do that. All right, now we're working on the other side. This is all completely installed, but this right here, as you see, I can rotate the spring, but there's no up and down play. That is zero or neutralized preload. We also went ahead and measured the threads between this collar and equalized it on both sides, as well as the threads between up here and the top of this collar. That will conclude the front installation. I actually forgot to start recording a little earlier, but in order to start the rears, it's a good idea to start removing the rear seats. There's two 12mm bolts in the front covered by two little plastic clips. Just to grab a flathead or your fingernail, whatever, pop those off. Go to remove those, then it should just slide out. Now for the upper portion of the back, if I recall correctly, it's just these 4 lower bolts and possibly a bolt up here. We'll get to it as we get to it. Okay, so it was just the 4 lower bolts. You do have to remove, or not remove, but fold down the center armrest and the back plate in order to clear this and slide it up and over. A lot of people actually remove the seat belts from these bolts down here. I don't. I like to just kind of slide it out from behind the seat belt, just saves a little bit of time. Now you're going to want to go ahead and same thing as the front, start jacking it up and going to support it on jack stands. And all right, now we're back here in the rear. We have 2 19mm bolts and a small tab. You go ahead and just wedge a flathead right behind here and just kind of pop it out. Once that comes out, the brake line will be free from the shock. You remove these 2 19mm bolts and the 3 12mm bolts up top, and this shock will remove. This one is a little bit easier than the front. And to finish up, we're just going to go ahead and tighten these up and tighten the top hat bolts, and then neutralize the preload, set the ride height, same as the front. But that will wrap up this video. Thank you very much, guys.